Okay, so this is 50mm f1.4 1/48 shutter speed. That's something we're gonna talk about. And ISO 125. This is the picture you can expect out of the new ZV-E10 Mark II. This is the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. I've had it in my hands for about a week now, and I'm gonna give you my first impressions. I am not Mark Bennett. First off, I wanted to show this same scene through the ZV-E10 Mark II. So this is what 30mm at f1.4 looks like. I think the camera's probably like 8 feet away from me, and then that back wall is probably another 12 feet behind me. This video is shot in 4K, so if you have a monitor that supports that, switch it to 4K. And the picture that this produces is crispy. I'm gonna switch to 50mm just because it's crispier. Like, this is Netflix documentary interview level of clarity and background bokeh. And the new autofocus stays locked onto my eyes 100% of the time, no matter how I'm moving, pretty much no matter what. It's a really, really nice looking 4K picture. But I'm gonna swap back to my old A7S III so I can hold this thing while I talk about it. Let's start with how this new version feels in your hands, because they made this grip a little bit bigger. I don't have giant hands, but I don't have tiny hands. The right side of the original ZV-E10 is really small, just doesn't fit in my hand very well. Personally, I just modified it with this cage from Neewer that has its own little rubber handle out in front, and that helps a lot. But the new ZV-E10 Mark II has a bigger grip, and it has a bigger grip because, and this is a big check in the pros category, they have switched to using the bigger Z batteries from the Alpha cameras. This is a 16.4 watt-hour battery, and that's compared to the older ZV-E10 batteries that were just 7.3 watt-hours. So you literally get more than double the battery capacity with this new guy. However, double the battery capacity doesn't quite convert to double the battery life, and that's just because this camera has a bigger, badder processor, and it's just doing more things all the time and working harder. But you do get about 30% longer battery use with the new Z batteries than you did in the first edition of the ZV-E10. Another quality of life upgrade, they have moved the SD card slot over to the left side here. Something I think fellow gimbal users will really appreciate. With the original ZV-E10, the card slot is down on the bottom next to the battery. The bottom is covered by the gimbal plate, and so you have to take this thing off the gimbal in order to get the card out. That's not a deal breaker or anything, but it's nice. Other than that, we've got all the same ports, same micro HDMI port, same USB Type-C port, and this camera can charge while it's in use, so as long as you have an external battery handy, this camera can run all day long. There's no record limit like the cameras of a bunch of years ago, like DSLRs. I don't know why those even had that. There are separate microphone in and headphone out jacks, so you can monitor your audio in real time when you're recording. And the new camera is obviously running on some kind of different software from the first one. Something that always bothered the crap out of me about the ZV-E10 was adjusting focus area. So like if you have a narrow focus box, if you're looking at something and you want to move this box over to a different part of the view, on this camera you have to go back into the menu, you have to go back to where you chose the focus area, choose it again, and then you can move that box once. I had gotten really used to the A7S III and the A7 IV, which both have joysticks on the back. You can just move that box at will. So switching back to the ZV-E10 sometimes is kind of frustrating. And I don't know, maybe I just move that box more often than normal. But with the ZV-E10 Mark II, now at any time you can just press this center button and then it sort of reloads the moving the box around thing. Another minor thing, but I like this a lot. I go to places like street protests and also race car stuff. I'm just changing up my framing for pretty much every shot all the time. Speaking of new software, this camera got the menu system from the A7 IV with all the categories on the left side, which makes this a really good B cam if you're used to using alpha cameras, because everything is just gonna be where you expect it to be. But if you're not using pro cameras, and I'm assuming most people aren't, they've got this same function button as the ZV-E10, which brings up a quick array of commonly accessed menus, like white balance, focus area, auto record level, steady shot, target recognition, whether you're shooting at people or animals or birds. And also another thing I didn't put in my script, when you turn the camera vertical, it also switches the menus up to match. And this is all touchscreen, so you're touching things to adjust them and you're scrolling with your finger like you do on a phone. The original ZV-E10 has a touchscreen, but for some reason they don't have touch operation on any of the buttons on the menus. You have to use the scroll wheel and the button on the scroll wheel. So this will help with those of you coming over from smartphone land. And even kind of like a smartphone, if you swipe up from the bottom, you get access to that menu also. If you don't want to shoot on manual settings, if you don't want to learn your camera at all, you just want it to work like a phone does. That's where I think they were initially marketing this camera as a much more user-friendly auto camera experience that it can do big camera stuff. So they've got the background defocus dedicated button, which is really just switching the camera into aperture mode, opening the aperture all the way up, and then using auto ISO to adjust the exposure. But if you don't know and you don't care how to learn how to get this creamy bokeh background, that button just does it automatically. Then also this product showcase thing that just automatically recognizes if you're holding something up, like you're displaying something that you're talking about, the camera will switch the focus to be on that object, until you bring it back down and then it switches the focus back to your eyes. It's actually a strangely useful thing. It's like having a cameraman. I've been doing these Amazon review videos and my Sony Alpha cameras can't do that. You'd have to have a person back there doing the focus. Another minor tweak I've noticed in the software, they've added support for 1/24, 1/48, and 1/96 shutter speeds. I assume for those of us shooting in 24 frames per second who want to adhere to the 180-degree shutter angle rule. You'll never know, but that took me like 6 takes to say for some reason. Even if there is no set of eyeballs on the planet who can spot the difference between 1/48 and 1/50th shutter speed, I suppose there are plenty of you who are somewhat on the spectrum and just really love round numbers to be perfect multiples of 24. Along with the bigger battery, we got a bigger camera computer processor in this update. Although, despite what B&H Photo said on their write-up, this camera did not come with the new AI processing unit that they put in the ZV-E10. That said, the autofocus in this camera will be better than that of this camera, thanks to the beefier new processor allowing it to take more samples more often. Going from 425 detection points on the ZV-E10 to 759 detection points on the ZV-E10 II, it'll put that little white box on your eye more quickly and it'll be more sticky than with its older brother. How about a demonstration? This camera also has enough processing power now to shoot 4K at 60 frames per second without a noticeable crop. And it still super sampled 6K video down to 4K even at 60 frames per second. There is a crop, but just barely. It's like 1.1x. And along with the 4K 60, we also got new video formats, which I'm personally pretty excited about. Now you can shoot in HAVC-HS, where previously you could only shoot in HAVC-S. And that is H.265 compression compared to H.264 compression, which basically means smaller file size, exact same video quality. HAVC-HS will stretch your SD cards further. There is a new image sensor, and it's at least called the same thing as the FX30's very professional sensor. Oh, there it is. This is Sony's 26 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor, and BSI means backside illuminated, which among other things does have a faster sensor readout, which comes with an improvement to rolling shutter and also allowed them to go full electronic shutter, which I'm not so sure how I feel about, honestly. I've always had a mechanical shutter. So there is no mechanical shutter on this camera. When you push this button, the only sound you'll hear is whatever electronic sound comes out of the speaker of the camera. There's nothing that falls down in front of the sensor when you take a picture, which mostly doesn't matter for me because mostly all I do is video with these cameras. And you can turn that sound off, so this camera can take photos completely silently. There are pros and cons to fully electronic shutters. For one, this has a faster shot rate than even the A7 IV. This can shoot photographs at 11 frames per second, but those photographs will be at a greater risk of rolling shutter than with the A7 IV's mechanical shutter, for whatever reason. Paired with the new processor, rolling shutter will be reduced. Less rolling shutter on the new one. And that's where if you're panning back and forth, something like a light pole that should be straight up and down is gonna like jelly to the side as you pan around it. You'll notice less of that in the new camera. It's pretty bad in the ZV-E10. It's better in the ZV-E10 Mark II. I'm gonna put this back on the tripod. The rest of this video is gonna be shot through the ZV-E10 Mark II. This is the quality of video you can expect out of the ZV-E10 Mark II. Let's put some smoke in the room. Everything's better with haze. I'm looking at my monitor over here, and I will say this is a handsome stream of 4K video. I dare say it would be pretty difficult to make a picture look much nicer than this, other than to get a better looking person sitting here. Oh right, I need to take this camera out on a handheld situation too. This is a vlogging camera after all.
Oh, we're vlogging?
Yeah, we're vlogging. So we're going out the front door of our new house.
Exciting, show them Goose Willis.
Okay, listen. My wife loves to dress up a goose. It's really windy. I guess that's a good test for the wind screen.
This is his August fisherman outfit. I'm very excited. He's caught something big. Be on the lookout. He's got his sun protection hat on. It's very sunny here in Florida. But you just wait until Halloween. He's got not one, but two, maybe three, I forgot, outfits for Halloween.
That goose changes outfits every 2 weeks.
Yes. It's gonna rain. Look at my Free People dupe overalls. I'm so happy about them.
I live in like this, what feels like a movie set neighborhood because everything pretty much just got built and nobody really lives in here yet, except us and like 2 other neighbors. So all these houses are new and they're all built, but there's nobody in them. I guess that'll make for a good comparison. Stabilization was turned off. This lens doesn't have stabilization. The camera doesn't have IBIS, but it's got active steady shot. And so there's a gyroscope inside the camera that's, oh, it's way too windy. There's no way. So if there's no wind sound right now, then I am extremely impressed because it's like super windy down this area between the 2 houses. Anyway, you may have noticed the crop in, because it cropped in, it's doing active steady shot. There's a gyroscope in this camera, so it's like measuring the movements that it's doing at all times, and then it's able to counteract the movements a little better than like your software stabilization will do in Final Cut. Anyway, so this is what you can expect from holding your camera out. I'm at 10 millimeters right now. This is a 10 to 18 millimeter lens. So that's fine though. That looks like a fine framing. This is my house. I live this close to a Publix. That's my grocery store. I get to walk to it. It's like I live in New York City in the suburbs of Orlando, Florida. Vlogging. Anyway, this went kind of long. These have been my initial thoughts on this camera. More to come about it. Goodbye. Even if there is no I assume for those of us shooting in 24 frames per second and wanting to, I assume for those of us shooting in 24 frames per second who want to observe the 100. I assume for those of us shooting in 24 frames per second who want to, I assume for those of us shooting in 24 frames